Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're taking a plunge into something vast and often baffling. We're talking about the realm of the unknown.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing.
It is, right. And it's everywhere. It's from the deepest parts of the ocean to, even the mysteries of our own existence.
And it's funny because the more we think we actually know,
Yeah.
the more we realize we really don't know. It's kind of humbling.
Yeah.
Even our perception of reality can be subjective.
Oh, totally. And you know what always comes to mind when I think of that? That whole viral photo of the dress a few years back.
Oh, yeah.
That was wild. People saw it as blue and black, others white and gold.
Right.
And it just sparked these massive online debates. And it really did make people question whether we're all seeing the same reality.
Yeah, it just shows that so much of what we think we see is really just our own interpretation. Even when we're all looking at the exact same thing, and you think about it, there's no guarantee that what you see as red is the same as what I see as red.
Whoa.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah. That's a little mind-blowing when you really think about it. And speaking of things that boggle the mind, let's take a dip into the ocean.
Okay.
I mean, we all know the ocean's vast. But did you know that we've only explored about 5 to 10% of it?
Yeah, that's right. Which means that, 90 to 95% is still completely uncharted territory, a total mystery.
Yeah.
And if the creatures we have found in that tiny percentage that we have explored are any indication,
I know.
think of the blobfish. It literally looks like a blob.
Yeah.
Or the bear-life fish, with that transparent head.
Ah.
Just imagine what else could be down there.
Totally.
Got to be incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes you wonder what's lurking in those depths. What kind of crazy creatures or ecosystems,
Yeah.
maybe even underwater civilizations that we haven't even, discovered yet.
Yeah. It's exciting.
And, while we're on the topic of things that are difficult to measure, have you ever thought about how we actually measure coastlines? You'd think it'd be simple, right?
Straightforward, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really not.
No, not at all. I mean, you got to think about it. Coastlines, they're so intricate with all those curves and inlets, and every single nook and cranny adds to the total length. And so in order to even try to measure it, surveyors have to cut corners and simplify it.
So does that mean you get different measurements depending on how much corner cutting they do?
Totally. Yeah, the length of a coastline can be completely different depending on, how they measured it and what scale they used. It's called the coastline paradox. It shows how something that seems so simple can get so complicated when you really start digging into it.
Totally. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. The whole concept of invention versus discovery. For example, did we invent fire or did we discover it? Was music something we invented or was it always there, just waiting to be discovered? We used to think that using tools is what made humans different from other animals, but then Jane Goodall's work with chimpanzees kind of flipped that idea on its head.
Yeah, totally. Her observations of chimps using tools, not just for getting food, but for cleaning themselves, even communicating,
Right.
really challenged our very definition of what it meant to be human. Because before that, we thought using tools was a purely human thing.
It's fascinating, isn't it? So, I mean, if using tools isn't the thing that makes us human, then what is? And, even the idea of consciousness, something we thought was unique to humans, is being reconsidered. I mean, there's even the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness now that says, mammals and birds, even octopuses could have consciousness too.
Right. So it really makes you wonder, maybe our idea of what it means to be human is too limited. We might be focusing on the wrong things to separate ourselves from other species.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's maybe consciousness isn't as straightforward as we thought it was.
There's a lot more to it.
Yeah. And, this brings us to one of the biggest mysteries of life, death. We've got beliefs, theories, even near-death experiences that challenge our ideas about death as, the end. But we just don't know for sure what happens after we die, do we?
No, we don't.
No.
And even the idea of what came before life is a mystery. It's kind of wild when you think about it.
Yeah. We're left with all these huge questions what came before? What happens after? These questions have fascinated humans for, forever.
Yeah. I mean, they're fundamental to our existence.
And, it's not just these huge existential questions. Even ancient mysteries like Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids still have us scratching our heads.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, we have theories about how they were built, what they were for, but we just don't have any definite answers. It's were they built with some knowledge and technology we don't even understand?
Right.
Maybe there were forces at work that we haven't even considered. It's that lack of concrete answers is part of what makes them so fascinating,
Absolutely. It's the mystery.
Keeps us coming back for more.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something a little closer to home. The power of the human mind. Have you heard of the placebo effect?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So explain that for people who might not know.
So basically, it's where the belief in a treatment can actually cause real changes in the body, even if the treatment itself doesn't have any real active ingredients.
So you're saying that if you think something's going to work, it might actually work, even if it's just like a sugar pill or something.
Exactly. It's like your mind can trick your body into healing. It shows how powerful the connection between the mind and body is, and that our thoughts can have a real impact on our physical health. I mean, that in itself is pretty amazing
It's
here.
wild. I mean, if our minds can impact our bodies like that just through belief,
Right.
imagine what else they could be capable of. It really makes you think about all the untapped potential we have.
It's true. And research into neuroscience and stuff is showing us more and more how positive thinking and self-affirmation can actually have tangible effects on our brains and our bodies, which really supports that idea that our thoughts and beliefs are way more powerful than we thought they were.
Okay, so we've explored these really intricate workings of the mind.
Right.
But now let's zoom out. Let's go way out to the vastness of space. Space exploration has really shown us just how mind-blowingly huge the universe is and how tiny our planet is in comparison. It puts things in perspective, right?
Totally. It's humbling, for sure.
Uh-huh.
We found thousands of other solar systems out there,
Mm-hmm.
and scientists think there could be billions more.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. The sheer number of stars and galaxies is almost impossible to wrap your head around.
I know. And it really begs the question, right?
Yeah.
With all those other worlds out there, are we really alone in the universe?
The big question is one that has always fascinated us. I mean, if there are that many planets out there, statistically speaking, it seems unlikely that life wouldn't have popped up somewhere else.
I agree. It makes the search for extraterrestrial life one of the most exciting, but also most challenging things we do in science. And even though we don't have proof yet, the possibilities are just so tantalizing.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah. And then that brings us to some of the most fundamental questions about existence. What is the universe made of? Why is there something rather than nothing?
Right. The big ones?
What happens to, our atoms after we die?
I know. These are the questions, right?
I know.
These are the questions that philosophers and scientists have been trying to figure out for centuries. We've got theories, models, but we don't really have any hard and fast answers.
Right.
Even time, even the concept of time itself, it's like a puzzle.
Right.
Did we invent time, or is it something fundamental to the universe that we discovered? It's like, which came first,
It's pretty mind-blowing to think about these things, like the fabric of reality, time, space, all these concepts. They're just so complex. And, the deeper we get into the world of quantum physics and all that, our understanding might totally shift again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Things are always changing.
Yeah. It's exciting to think about how much we still have to learn. But you know what's amazing?
But
Even in our everyday lives, there are so many mysteries. For example, why is yawning contagious? We all do it.
yeah.
But, do we really know why?
Right. It's such a simple thing. We take it for granted.
Totally. Or, laughter. We usually
Yeah.
think of it as being connected to, happiness and humor. But other animals laugh, too.
Right.
So maybe it's more than just this human social thing.
Yeah.
And, why do we cry? It seems to have benefits for us, physically.
Yeah.
But we connect it to sadness.
Right.
Emotions like laughter and crying are so complex, they're a good reminder that even simple things we do every day can have really deep and often unknown origins.
I know. The more you learn about things like that, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of humbling. And it's not just everyday things either. Even scientific theories that were once, accepted as fact can be totally changed or disproven as we learn new things.
Take the geocentric model of the universe, for example, where people thought that the Earth was the center.
Oh, yeah.
It was the leading theory for a long time, centuries, until, we figured out it was wrong.
Right, the heliocentric model.
Exactly, where the sun is at the center.
Yeah. That's a great example of how our understanding of the world is constantly evolving.
Always changing, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to be open to the unknown, because that openness is what drives progress, especially in science.
Absolutely. I mean, being comfortable with not knowing everything, with
Yes.
questioning what we think we know.
And being open to new discoveries, that's key.
Yeah. It's about seeing uncertainty not as a roadblock, but as, like, an invitation to explore further.
Take a challenge.
Yeah, a challenge to learn more, to figure things out. And I think that's a perfect place to leave it for this part of our deep dive. We've got so much more to uncover, so make sure you come back for part two.
Yes, definitely. There's a lot more to come. Yeah, it really is. Like that drive to learn, to figure things out, that's what pushes us to explore and question and really see what's out there.
And it doesn't always have to be about these big, like, universal mysteries, right? I mean, there's so much we don't know about stuff we encounter every day.
Oh, totally.
Like something as basic as why are some people right-handed and others left-handed?
Right. Like, why aren't we all just ambidextrous? You'd think that would be way more useful.
Right.
Is there, like, some evolutionary reason? Or is it just random? We don't really know.
There's so much we just take for granted. Like, why do we yawn when we see someone else yawn? Or, like, why do we cry when we're sad?
Yeah, we do these things all the time, but we don't really know why. It's pretty interesting when you stop and think about it. And, while we're on the topic of things we don't fully understand, I think it's good to remember that even our scientific understanding is always changing.
Yeah, that's true.
What we think is, like, a truth today could be totally different tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Like, remember the geocentric model of the universe?
Oh, yeah.
Where everyone thought the Earth was the center of everything? I mean, that was a pretty huge misconception.
It was a big one, and people believed it for centuries.
Right.
But then the heliocentric model came along, putting the sun at the center.
Right.
It totally changed how we view the cosmos.
Mm.
And I think it's a great example of how what we know in science can always be updated as we get more information.
That's a really good point. So, like, how do we deal with this? Knowing that things are always changing and that we don't have all the answers, it can be kind of overwhelming, right?
Yeah, it can be. I think it's about being okay with not knowing everything, recognizing that there are limits to our understanding,
Mm.
but realizing that that's part of what makes discovery so cool. It's about being comfortable with, like, having questions.
So it's more about being curious and, like, open to new ways of thinking about things.
Yeah, exactly. The universe is full of surprises, and honestly, the more we learn, the more we realize there's even more out there to learn. It makes you feel small, but in a good way, I think.
Yeah, it's like we're on this huge adventure exploring a place where no one's been before. Like, who knows what we'll find next? It's that potential for discovery that keeps us going.
Yeah, and it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. Every time you think you've got it figured out, there's another layer. And it's not just about finding the answers, it's about all the questions we ask along the way.
I like that. So really, by being okay with what we don't know, we can actually understand ourselves and our place in all of this a lot better.
Yeah, it's humbling for sure to realize that we're just this little piece of something so much bigger. A little bit scary, maybe.
But when you say it's also kind of freeing, like, we don't have to have all the answers. We can just enjoy the journey and, learn as we go.
Absolutely. I think that's a big part of what makes life interesting and meaningful. It's that connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
It gives you a sense of wonder and purpose.
And sometimes the most important thing isn't the answer, it's asking the right question.
For sure.
It's about having that curiosity and, that desire to keep learning. That's what matters. It's like we're explorers sailing on this uncharted sea. And the map is always changing, like as we make new discoveries, we got to redraw it. And the
Yeah.
best part is we don't even know what treasures we'll find.
Right. And they aren't always what you'd expect either. Sometimes the most amazing insights, they come from the most random places.
Totally. Like just asking a simple question or looking at the world around us, like with fresh eyes.
Yeah, being curious. It's not always about telescopes and labs and stuff. Sometimes it's about, like, using your intuition, your imagination even.
It's true. It's about like leaning into the mystery, knowing that some things we might never fully understand.
And being okay with that, finding the beauty in that uncertainty.
I love that. It's like when you look up at the night sky, right? With all those stars. And you realize we're just this tiny little speck. It's humbling, but also like so awe-inspiring.
It really makes you appreciate the scale of everything.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that there's always more to learn, more to see, more to discover.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here,
All right.
I think the big takeaway is that it's totally okay to not have all the answers. Actually, those unanswered questions, the mysteries, that's what keeps us curious. That's what keeps us wanting to learn more.
It pushes us forward.
Yeah.
And when we're open to not knowing everything,
Yeah.
that's when we can really grow and learn and, see the world in new ways.
Yeah. I think that's so important, that sense of wonder and curiosity. And hopefully it's something that stays with everyone, even after we're done here.
Because the journey doesn't end here. It's something that keeps going throughout our
It's
lives.
a lifelong adventure. So keep asking those questions, keep exploring, keep that wonder alive. Who knows what incredible things we'll find out there?
There's a whole universe of possibilities waiting.
That's a great way to put it. Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a blast.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.